Welcome to another edition of GSC DigiNet. I'm your host, Jim Cavell. We have so much to talk about here from our beautiful Gulf South Conference studios in Birmingham, Alabama at our headquarters, where this week, GSC-TV Live will feature one of the biggest matchups ever since our television package began in 2005. That's right, #1 nationally ranked UNA will host #2 nationally ranked Delta State live on CSS, Cox Sports Television, and several other of our GSC-TV Live networks. Should be a great matchup that you can enjoy live on television this Thursday night. But in addition to that, we have so much going on when it comes to GSC Volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and of course men's and women's cross country. So let's delve into those highlights right now and check out what's going on throughout the Gulf South Conference this fall.
GSC football has now done something 4 times in the last 5 weeks as they've turned in a perfect performance versus non-conference competition. All 5 GSC squads notched wins over GAC opponents. Thanks to an impressive offensive output from each team, these triumphs have led to national contention now for 2 teams that are holding the top spots in the AFCA Top 25 for the first time in league history. #1, North Alabama traveled to the Natural State for the 2nd week in a row, rolling up 600-plus yards of total offense en route to a 44-10 decision at Arkansas Tech. The Lions' output marked just the 12th game in school history with more than 600 yards of total offense as UNA kicks off the 2011 GSC League slate Thursday with the GSC TV Live Game of the Week versus #2 Delta State, who kicked off their week by collecting a 34-20 win at home against Arkansas Monticello in Game 4 of the GSC TV Live Game of the Week package. GSC upped its 2011 record versus the Great American Conference to 4-0 thanks to 21 unanswered points in the last 9:53 of the first half. #12, Valdosta State rebounded from its first loss of the season, cruising past Washington Baptist on the road 40-13. As quarterback Caden Cochran stepped onto the field late in the first quarter and sparked the Blazers with 424 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. VSU returns home on Saturday, facing #22 West Alabama in homecoming action. Speaking of them, #22 UWA went 5-1 now on the season, entering the top 25 for the first time and celebrating its homecoming win, 38-10 over Southern Arkansas. UWA moved to 5-1 for the first time since 1982. West Georgia now 3-2 for 6 turnovers, earning its first road win since 2007, 41-24 over Harding. As UWG exploded for 28 points in the second quarter, led by 3 rushing scores by quarterback Emmanuel Taylor. The Wolves return home for a CIAA battle against St. Augustine's on Saturday. So not only does GSC's domination on the gridiron continue over the former Arkansas members of the Gulf South Conference, but out of the 5 football-playing schools that are left in the Gulf South Conference here in the 2011 season, 4 of them are ranked nationally. Pretty impressive stuff. GSC men's soccer is starting to clear up as their playoff picture gets closer to championship time. West Florida leads the way 2-0 in conference play. Alabama Huntsville right behind them at 1-0 in conference play. Christian Brothers and Delta State have yet to play a conference matchup. And then on the women's side, it's getting very interesting as the first-year program at Valdosta State continues to have success, 4-1 in conference play, 8-3 overall. North Alabama is 3-1 in second place. West Florida 3-0 in conference play, 8-2 overall. So those teams all experiencing some success on the soccer field. And then women's volleyball leading the way, West Florida 7-0 now, 9-game winning streak. North Alabama at 5-1. Christian Brothers and West Alabama both with 4 wins apiece in conference play as we get closer to all the championships in the Gulf South Conference later this fall.
Great stuff as always from around the league. The Gulf South Conference's fall sports are now getting closer to championship time. That's right, the championships taking place in all of our sports except for football, so you can expect men's and women's cross-country championships to take place across the road from our headquarters here in Hoover, Alabama at Spain Park's beautiful cross-country facility. And in addition to that, we'll have volleyball championships at a site to be determined by whoever the #1 seed in volleyball based on the regular season champion. And then of course, the men's and women's soccer championships taking place in beautiful Pensacola, Florida, hosted by the University of West Florida. So much going on this fall. Keep in touch with all that by staying in tune to the GSC website at gscsports.org. Mike Anderson and his media relations crew, led by A.A. Moore, doing such a great job on a minute-to-minute basis with the best standings and statistics and other results from around the league. And then, of course, you can check out our Facebook page with daily posts and information from around the league as well. So until next time, I'm Jim Cavell. This is GSC DigiNet. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again in a few days.
With Andy Collier with the Boulevard Commercial covering Delta State. Andy, how are you doing this afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing all right.
Delta State, obviously, big ball game for Delta State, but do you get the feeling that, they're not putting a lot of stock into it, or do you, feel that things are kind of hiding on campus this week?
Well, I think they're real excited about the game when it comes to Delta State and North Alabama. It's always a big rivalry game, and it's always a game that both teams have always looked forward to playing each other. Every time they play each other, they're always ranked among the best in the nation. They're always playing for a playoff or a Gulf South Conference title, and so far, with the way both teams are going, this game looks to be no different. Both of them have really had great seasons, and it should be a heck of a ball game Thursday.
When you look at Delta State and their body of work, even just last week against Arkansas Monticello, it's kind of like it takes the engine a little longer to warm up than you would expect a team that's number 2 in the country. Do you think that's something that's a concern of Ron Roberts?
Well, I know he definitely knows that when it comes to mistakes, they're going to have to limit their mistakes against a team like North Alabama. He knows when it comes to North Alabama, any mistake you make, they can take advantage of it. So, yeah, he wants to cut down. He especially wants to cut down on the turnovers against North Alabama and play as mistake-free as he can.
Micah Davis, he has certainly ramped it up this season. There was at one point last week where he completed like 15 consecutive passes. How much are they going to lean on Micah to lead this team to a possible victory, or do you think they want to be a little more diverse offensively?
They want to be. They want to. They obviously are going to lean a lot toward to Micah Davis. He's done a good job being a leader for that team, but Delta State has also done a good job running the ball. So they're going to want to be as diverse as possible. They've gotten to where they're very balanced offensively. They can run it and they can throw it. They've got several talented running backs in the backfield, and they've got talented receivers to throw it to, and a good offensive line blocking for them. So I think they're going to try to mix it up, and more importantly, they're going to try to take what the defense gives them. They're going to look for any opening to get the yards and to put points on the board.
One final question: Delta State comes out with the victory if they do what?
Well, I think obviously they need to cut down on the turnovers. They've turned it over 21 times, and they've caused 19 turnovers. So I think they definitely need to cut down on the turnovers and make sure that they don't get that North Alabama doesn't get a lot of easy chances to score. And on defense, they need to also try to stop North Alabama as much as they can and maybe force some turnovers, kind of get the momentum on their side. But I think turnovers, the turnover battle is going to be real big in this game.
Andy Collier with the Boulevard Commercial. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
We're with Jeff McIntyre with the Florence Times Daily, who covers North Alabama football. Jeff, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great.
Big football game. North Alabama kind of climbing the charts a little bit now, sitting at number 1 in the country. They've got a big opponent in Delta State. I'm sure they're looking forward to it up there. Kind of give us the feel, the temperature a little bit of what's going on campus.
Well, you can't ask for much more than this. You're playing one of your biggest rivals, maybe your biggest rival, and it's your first Gulf South Conference game. And, it just happens to be the number 1 team in the nation against number 2. I think it's just the third time in history UNA's played a number 1 versus 2 matchup. So a lot of excitement. It's a blackout night at Raleigh Stadium on Thursday, so everybody will be wearing black. Nationally, or not nationally, but regionally televised. So just a lot of excitement. And, anytime these two teams get together, it's going to be a war. And all the national rankings and everything just adds a little more fuel to the fire this year. But it should be an exciting night at Raleigh Stadium.
Now, North Alabama, they tend to get a lot of spotlight. Of course, it starts with the coach, Terry Bowden, and a lot of the players they bring in have kind of been in these kind of environments. Then you add on to the fact that they were able to play at Cowboy Stadium a couple weeks ago. Do you still get the feeling, though, that this team may have some nerves, some jitters because it's such a big game, or is it something maybe that this team is kind of used to?
I think they are used to it, and you make a point because of all the Division I guys that transferred here. I think they're used to the big time atmosphere. You got 4 or 5 guys who have BCS national championship rings. They're used to playing big time. Now, I will tell you, when we went to Cowboy Stadium, that was such an impressive stadium and atmosphere that I think they were all a little overwhelmed. But they went the day before the game, kind of got the nerves out, and on Saturday they really played well. So I think they're used to that. Of course, Delta State, played in the B2 championship game last year, so they're familiar with this as well. So I don't think nerves will be a problem for either team.
Now, North Alabama this year, they've taken advantage of a lot of turnovers, a lot of opportunities, if you will, to kind of turn tide of games, put teams out of their misery. Delta State, they turn the ball over a lot. In fact, they've got more turnovers than they do forced turnovers. How big of a deal do you think that's going to be in this ball game, especially with North Alabama trying to kind of push that tempo?
There's no doubt that's huge, and really that's been the story in this series over the years. UNA's, I can't remember the exact record, but UNA's had good success in the last few years against Delta, and in those games, Delta has turned the ball over a lot. I think they're averaging something like 4 or 5 turnovers a game in those games with UNA over the last few years. So taking care of the ball is going to be crucial. I thought that Coach Roberts at Delta earlier in the week, and of course that's something he pointed out. It's big. Turnovers usually decide games like this, and UNA defense has always been opportunistic, forcing turnovers and even scoring with them. So that's going to be a huge part of the game. UNA's been taking pretty good care of the ball, and they just want to continue to do that. But Delta certainly, especially against a secondary as talented as UNA, they don't want to make any big mistakes and let the defense get a score on them.
Talk a little bit about Lee Chappell and kind of the maturation that his game has undergone. Last year, even though this team was pretty good, you could see some cracks offensively as far as North Alabama being able to move the ball. This year, he looks to be a little more in control. Talk about his game.
I think you're right. Lee has matured, and just being in the system, in the program, a year has made all the difference in the world. He came in August last year, totally new to the program. He transferred from Georgia Southern. He obviously had a lot of talent, but when you're thrown into a situation with a completely new team and you have to learn a whole new offense that quickly, I think it puts a lot of pressure on you. Lee struggled at times. Again, we could say he had talent and made some plays, but he also made some mistakes. I think sometimes trying to force things, sometimes maybe making the wrong read, going to the wrong guy, and that hurt him. So I think just going through spring practice really helped a lot, and then being in fall camp. They do have a different offense this year, but it's more of the top offense he ran at Georgia Southern, so he's very comfortable with it. And he struggled a little bit in the first game this weekend against Central Oklahoma, but since then he's been solid. He's getting better every week.
Last question here real quick. What is it going to take? What is going to happen in this ball game that will ensure North Alabama will come out with a victory?
Well, I'm not sure it's a great matchup, but we talked about the turnovers. That's huge. But to me, the key, I think UNA defensively has to stop the running game with Delta. Delta's very balanced. They can throw it and they can run it. Pretty much equally effective. I think they're averaging close to 200 yards rushing offense and right at 300 passing. So great offensive attack. But if you can slow down the running game and sort of make them one-dimensional, even though they are that good passing the football, UNA's secondary is a strength, so it'll be kind of going into one strength against another. So to me, that's kind of the key. If UNA can slow down the run, make them throw it, and get some pressure on Micah Davis, that's the key. And if they can do that, then maybe they will force some turnovers and make some big plays there. So to me, that's the key to this game.
Jeff McIntyre, Florence Times Daily. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Albert. Appreciate it.